Coming up next on Arizona Horizon, the Justice Department says not so fast to a U.S. Airways American Airlines merger. Arizona Speaker of the House discusses a denial of federal aid for the Yarnell Hill fire area, and we'll hear about a shortage of construction workers in the state. Those stories next on Arizona Horizon.
Arizona Horizon is made possible by contributions from the Friends of Eight, members of your Arizona PBS station. Thank you.
Good evening and welcome to Arizona Horizon. I'm Ted Simons. The Justice Department today filed an antitrust lawsuit to block Tempe-based U.S. Airways merger with American Airlines. Joining us now is Robert Mittelstadt. He's an airline industry expert and the former dean of ASU's W.P. Carey School of Business. Good to see you again.
Nice to be back, Ted.
All right, this action by the Justice Department, a surprise to you?
It was a surprise to a lot of people because previous airline mergers seem to have gone pretty smoothly without much objection. So it's definitely a bump in the road.
So what happened here? We had Delta and Northwest going through, no problems. United Continental going through, relatively no problems. Big problems here? What's the difference?
Well, depending on how the process plays out, there could be some significant problems. I think that what's behind this is two things. One is people beginning to ask, when is a small number of airlines too few for competitive purposes? And so you hear everybody saying we're going from 4 to 3. I would argue we're really going from 5 to 4 because Southwest is a big player as well domestically, not internationally like the others are. And so that's one of the questions that's being asked legitimately. I think the cynic in me, though, it says that the other reason is that this probably affects Washington Reagan Airport more than any other, and there's a lot of politicians and Washington people that suddenly say, "Oh my gosh, this is our home airport. We got to worry about this."
Well, it's interesting because we had you on last time discussing, the fact that the merger had been approved by most parties that were needed. You mentioned that there might be a sticking point there at Reagan National in D.C., and that is one of the sticking points. It sounds like duplicating routes is a big factor here, correct?
Yes and no. There are not a lot of routes that they compete on directly. In fact, out of Washington, I talked to a friend in North Carolina earlier today who told me that he saw something in the paper there. There are only 2 routes that American and U.S. Air have exclusively, and one of them is from Washington to Raleigh-Durham. So those 2 routes, whatever they are, will be suspect, certainly. But the whole system fits together pretty nicely in terms of not overlapping an awful lot. Now, this GAO study came out where they said, well, but if you consider connections, it's over 1,600 routes that they compete on. Well, connections, yes and no. I mean, so just because we have family in New Orleans, we go back and forth there from time to time, and you can get there on U.S. Air, but you have to change flights in Charlotte to get to New Orleans. So I don't consider that really competitive with American, where you'd change flights in Dallas to get to New Orleans because you're going to fly an hour further each way. So some of the information that's coming out here looks to me to be pretty shallow in terms of the depth of analysis that's taken place in terms of the competitiveness between these 2 companies.
So that same study would say that competition would be reduced because of the connecting services, the overlapping and connecting services. Competition reduced in 38 states. You're not necessarily buying that. I'm
not buying that. I mean, it depends on whether you want to, connect in Montana to go to Miami or not. Or,
Well, okay. The feds are basically saying eliminates competition, puts consumers at risk of higher prices, puts consumers at risk of reduced services. Are these valid concerns?
I think that an awful lot of this is conjecture based on somebody saying, I think this is what will happen in the future, rather than any hard evidence that anything like this is going to take place. So the point that I keep coming back to is that airfares in this country are a bargain compared to what they have ever been in the history of the world, and especially if you go back to the pre-deregulation days. We literally are paying maybe 20% of what we paid 30 years ago to fly. And an airfare from the east to the west coast today costs you less than you might pay for your first couple of nights in the hotel when you get there. So it's not that in an absolute sense that there's a problem. And I think that going with 3 major airlines competing hard with each other, not only domestically, but to get people into their international routes, I don't think you're going to lessen competition here.
I guess that's the big question, though, isn't it? If prices are what they are now, and you see that as one of the best bargains in the history of airfare, does that get compromised with this one more merger?
I don't think it will, but the problem is that that's all conjecture, regardless of which side of the argument that you're on. And there are laws against collusion. There are laws against all sorts of things. But by the way, I mean, one of the examples people use is, well, look, all the airlines increased baggage fees. Well, yeah, all of them did except Southwest. Southwest is still out there doing something different. And yes, if one of them tries it and it works, the others are going to try it too. But that happens in any industry. That's not unique to the airline industry.
So, I mean, what happens next? Are we going to get countersuits now from the airlines, you think? Almost definitely, wouldn't you think?
They certainly will fight the suit. It's not yet a countersuit. But the first step is that a judge has to hear this and decide whether to grant an injunction or not. And if they grant an injunction, then that just stops it where it is, and then they plan to go to a trial. And if it goes to a trial, it's a judge trial, not a jury trial, then it still just goes on for some period of time, and then the judge has to decide whether the damage to the public at large is greater than the advantages of such a merger.
What kind of time frame are we talking about here?
You just don't know. I mean, because there's a lot of stuff that can go on here. They could get into negotiation if the injunction is granted, and it may get resolved before it goes to trial, or it could end up going to a full-blown trial.
With that in mind, how likely is it, as we stand right now, that this merger doesn't happen?
I think that from a legal standpoint, and this has got political and economic and personal things swirling all around it in terms of people's preferences and their airport and everything else, I think it's just much more difficult to project what's going to happen here at this point. But I think it gets to be sort of 50-50 because of all the factors at work.
50-50 that's interesting. That's a far cry from what we've been hearing the past few months.
Yeah, it looked like it was a done deal
No
before.
kidding. Last question. Let's say that there is no merger. What happens to both airlines?
Well, look, the reality is that both airlines are competing against much larger, better capitalized, broader route structures against Delta and United if they can't combine. And if they can't combine, they still have to fight to be able to buy the best airplanes, to provide the highest level of safety, to provide training, all these other things that are more difficult to do as a smaller player. And from a pure marketing standpoint, it's harder to attract the public. You have to spend the same kind of marketing dollars even though you're a smaller player. So I think it becomes a difficult challenge for them going forward. But well, I believe it would make that the merger makes sense, but there's a very complicated process by which this is going to get figured out now.
Complicated indeed. Good to have you here, though. Thanks for joining us.
Nice to see you again.
We want to hear from you. Submit your questions, comments, and concerns via email at arizonahorizon@asu.edu.
The Federal Emergency Management Agency has declined to declare the Yarnell Hill fire a major disaster. This as the city of Prescott has denied death benefits for many of the firefighters who were killed in the fire. House Speaker Andy Tobin is here to address both of those controversial and emotional issues. It's good to have you.
It's good to have you. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Let's start with FEMA here. The federal disaster aid for Yarnell denied. What are your thoughts?
Well, it's not just my thoughts. The minority leader of the House, Chad Campbell, came out and we collectively today we went ahead and wrote to the president and said, "Hey, please reconsider this." I mean, this community lost 20% of their structures. Now I know this is a little town, but these are taxpayers too, and we've had other emergencies, Hurricane Sandy to name. There's several of them out there. That's Arizona taxpayer money too going there. For them to have waited so long and then to say, you know what, you just don't qualify, it seems almost intentional to me. So I have to admit I'm pretty disappointed in the president. I'm especially disappointed in how long they took to get us here. And I respectfully request that they're going to go ahead and help us again. I mean, take a look at this. I've got, 30-something% of these people are under the poverty line anyway. And we don't need all their help. This is just a little hands up to some few folks that are over there, and I think it was a snub right at Arizona and directly at us.
Well, FEMA's response was that the severity and the magnitude of the fire was not enough.
Yeah. Well, I would share with you if that's the place, then why did it take 1 month to do it? And then I would also share with you if that's their status, then every rural community in the country should be very nervous about whether they're ever going to get support from the federal government on it.
Do you think that's a factor here, the rural-urban
nature
of this?
I think it's an absolute factor. There's not a whole lot of people in that town. Sheriff Masher from Yavapai County evacuated that town so quickly. I was down there that Sunday night. It was a very difficult time, very difficult event. We watched in the darkness, as you can watch these propane tanks blow. That was the only thing you could see by. It was so dark, and it's surreal. And this was a Hurricane Sandy to those people that don't have their home. This was a Hurricane Sandy to those people who have nothing now. And and there weren't very many of them that didn't have insurance. There's many that were underinsured. There's going to be some problems with of course, getting up to code and things like that. But we Arizonans are strong. We'll be fine. But to treat them this way is just beyond call for me.
Where would the money have gone?
Yeah. Well, what FEMA does that would have allowed federal people to come in to help with first off loans, to help those who are struggling, and for those who are so under the poverty line, there'd be some grant money. And it's not like it's a whole lot for each person, but $38,000 that could help you get the next step up, and then maybe you can get the loan to move first. So the answer was there wasn't going to be a whole lot of money in it, but we've got a water infrastructure problem out there. The pipes are old. They've broken through this fire crisis, and I have fire trucks that are in a difficult way. It wasn't fire related, but this is old equipment. We still have a responsibility to help these people get themselves to a safety area. And we have a helicopter pad that can use help. This community, they're not out there begging. They just want what everybody else gets.
But the feds responded, though, in the letter saying that state and local governments were capable of this kind of help. And when you mention how few people there are and how little money it is, it almost, in some respects, makes their argument that you guys can handle this.
Well, but I would then argue that there are other things. I mean, we went back with billions of dollars for Hurricane Sandy. And I mean, the answer is we have expanded our emergency funding that we did this last budget. So we've already expanded it. But at the end of the day, these are federal taxpayers. This is on state lands. We get it. But at the end of the day, these folks have the same losses that somebody else somewhere else in the nation has. So does that mean New Jersey and the Tri-City area couldn't do that? Does that mean bailing them out was a mistake? I don't think so. I think Arizonans were happy to be part of helping build up the East Coast again. So.
I've seen criticism saying that these people should have had insurance. Yeah. How do you respond to that? Because some of these folks were either underinsured, as you said, or no insurance. That's a pretty dangerous way to live up there.
It is. Well, it's dangerous to live that way anyway. But when I mentioned how many people are below the poverty line, that sends a message. These folks have paid off their house over time, but they can't afford insurance anymore. They're struggling, and there's poor senses of the community. The east side, the west side of the street is gone. I mean, it's gone. There's some old structures. A lot of Yarnell was built on some of these old tailings. So you have infrastructure that's bad. They might not have been able to get insurance because they have an old building. So, it's going to happen. Everybody isn't insured, and everybody can't afford that. And that's why you have neighbors trying to help. And the Red Cross has been great. We have had great response. The president should have snubbed his nose at us.
Last point, and that just saying the president snubbing your nose. There are some who are saying that it's hypocritical for Arizona leaders who are so critical of the government and so critical of federal aid in so many ways, now saying, why not us, why not now? Respond to that, please.
Well, I'd be happy to respond to it. I mean, I want our federal dollars to come back here. But if you're not going to have an emergency system that applies to everybody, then don't have Arizonans pay for everybody else's emergency stuff. I mean, that's my response. I don't have a problem with the government stepping in and helping with infrastructure, helping taxpayers, helping Americans who have worked all their lives to put their lives back together. We're a very generous nation, a very generous state. But does that mean that Arizona shouldn't be at least asking, hey, we should expect some help? I mean, this is pretty much across the board. Rs and Ds are all in agreement that this was a mistake of theirs.
I want you to comment a little bit now about the death benefits for the seasonal and temporary workers. Again, I'm hearing some folks saying these are seasonal, temporary workers. They knew what they signed up for, and this is something that they didn't expect, but it was within the deal. How do you respond to that?
It is within the deal. You know, here's the response. The only way that many of these smaller towns can have these hot shots is if they have permanent workers and they have seasonal and part-timers surround them. They can't afford to do it any other way. And I get that. And we don't want to lose that. But if at the end of the day what you have is you're losing lives and that are not having their beneficiaries compensated for it, I think it detracts. I think it makes it more difficult for us to maintain some of these hotshot crews who are saving our homes all across the state. So I'm not saying that Prescott made any mistakes. I know what everybody signed. I get it. But this is an exceptional situation. 19 people just don't die in our fires every day. The law is the law. We can put attorneys down here and have this fight over every day about whether they signed this or not. But what's right is that if you have folks who are fighting on state land protecting your home and mine, our families, their families should be treated the same.
Now you're drafting legislation. What will that call for? And is this seasonal and temporary firefighters, all seasonal temporary workers? What are we looking at here?
This has to do with anyone on state land. Anyone who's killed on state land fighting first responders of any kind.
First responders.
Land. That's exactly right. Okay. So there's 3 different bills moving. One bill is to help the city of Prescott because because those who were permanently protected and then were on pensions, the city of Prescott will have liability going forward for those families. They have to contribute into that pool. Well, I think we've missed it somewhere along the line. We should have some sort of blanket catastrophic coverage for these incidents that may occur down the road. And so they're going to be additionally hurt. So one bill helps the city. One bill helps the beneficiaries as we're going forward. We have to find a way to do that, make sure we're not having a problem with our gift clause. And the other one has to do with protecting that site where we lost 19 firefighters.
Special session likely? Or gonna
I don't know if we're going to go there. We have to. Representative Justin Pierce is very anxious to start moving forward and making sure we're dotting the I's and crossing the T's on these bills. So I think when we're ready to go, we'll let the governor know. And the Senate President's been very supportive. Mr. Biggs had been over there, and Senate Democrats, House Democrats, House Republicans all seem to be on board with trying to find the right way to go.
Last question, very quickly. Does the state need to look again at the issue of municipal employees doing anything on state lands?
Well, I don't know what you mean by it. I mean, I don't know if we'd have to look at it all over again.
Well, in terms of protection, benefits, coverage.
I'm just going to tell you, if we're going to put somebody on the fire line and they're risking their lives, and their family should know that the state of Arizona is going to take care of them.
Speaker,
and I think that's right.
Thank you so much for joining us, Speaker.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Arizona's housing market is heating up, but the state is now facing a shortage of construction workers. For more, we welcome David Jones, president of the Arizona Construction Association. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for the invitation.
Well, what is the state of the construction industry right now here in Arizona?
Well, we suffered greatly. We, along with the tourism industry in this state, suffered greatly during the recession. We are now starting to see signs coming back that there's vitality. Individuals are going to work. We're starting to see houses being built, lots being purchased for future building. And what we're finding is that we don't have adequate skilled labor workforce for construction, not only here in Arizona, but throughout the country. So it's not a case of going to elsewhere in the country to to bring people in.
Define a skilled construction worker. What kind of jobs are we talking about?
Yeah, those would be individuals that require specific skills such as plumbers, electricians, brick masons, carpenters, roofers.
And we used to have enough of these folks to go around back in the salad days, correct?
Yeah, we had enough of them at the time, but even during the peak, there was still a demand because our market was quite hot. Arizona led the country as one of the most rapid growing states, and so the appetite for construction was huge.
So what happened to those that were here back then? Where'd they go?
We don't know. We actually don't know. We've lost around 208,000 jobs, and during that period of time, a lot of people have left. Where they have gone, we don't know, whether it was neighboring states, but the fact of the matter is we're finding that they're just not there.
Career changes for some, you think?
Very possibly. What we're suspecting is that individuals that have been in construction, because it does modulate with opportunities of going up and down, that they've decided to retrain themselves and find other areas to work.
Impact of SB 1070 keeping some away as well, I would imagine.
I've probably been asked that question about 50 times.
I bet you have.
I don't think it really, Ted, would be fair to say 1070 was exactly the silver bullet, but I think it hit at the same time, went into effect at the same time as a recession. And I think the challenge will be for Arizona as we lead the recovery is how welcome will individuals feel coming back here if they are a Hispanic or Latino.
With that in mind, how much would immigration reform as we know it help?
Well, we think it would help greatly. We're disappointed that we're seeing Congress address the agricultural areas. But the fact is, in this country, the average construction worker is 47 years old. 51% of our infrastructure is in need of repair or replacement. The youth of America is not as interested as previous generations in working with their hands and their minds.
Well, with that in mind, I know that some would say, the solution, if you don't have enough jobs, is to pay a higher wage for those jobs and the people will come. Valid?
Not necessarily. We took a survey not too long ago within our association, and I'm going back just prior to the recession, and our average annual was between 44 and 52,000 a year for some of the skilled crafts. And that today, with the demand that will be coming up, there will be a lot of overtime. There'll be opportunities. Your operating engineers, the heavy equipment operators would probably be up in the 60, 65,000.
Well, yeah, and I don't want to get too far into the immigration argument again, but there was always this argument that Americans simply don't want to do certain jobs or are increasingly hesitant or reluctant to do certain jobs. Is that what we're talking about here?
I think what we're talking about, we have to go all the way back to after World War II. When soldiers returned, they got the GI Bill right, they started to get some education. Some of them left the family farms and they went to work at factories. And then Americans came up with this paradigm that you're going to go to college and you're going to get an education. You're not going to work on the farm, you're not going to work in the factory. And consequently, we ended up with a highly educated society, but we've lost the worker bees.
Yeah, it's interesting. But again, you got to wonder if the worker bees, if you make it more attractive, do they start buzzing around?
Well, I think that it would require training. I think that what we find in a personality profile of individuals who work in construction, they like to work outdoors. They're task-oriented. They like to see things completed that they built. And so we need to, as an industry, enhance our image and create some incentives.
I was going to say education and training has to be a factor here.
It is.
What do you want to see done?
Well, I think, first of all, we need to look at a realistic guest worker program. We're not going to be able to meet the needs. I don't think we can train quick enough. If we would go on a national program of infrastructure repair, that's going to sap out the individuals that may work on residential construction. There are two projects coming up here in the Valley. If we look to the West Valley Resort and Casino, we look at the project over in Tempe, $600 million apiece projected on those. That's roughly around 6,000 construction-related jobs per project. So consequently, when those projects break, there's going to be even a greater demand.
So last question, is there any sign that supply is getting closer to demand when it comes to construction workers as we stand now?
No.
No, so It's not a good situation and getting worse.
Well, it's getting worse. We look at Canada; they're over in Ireland right now recruiting to get Irish workers, and the UK's in the Eastern European countries trying to get workers.
Are you trying to get the attention of lawmakers on this?
We are.
Any response?
No.
It's good we had you on. Thanks for joining us. We
Thank
appreciate
you.
it. Wednesday on Arizona Horizon, world-renowned physicist Lawrence Krauss joins us for his monthly discussion of science issues, and we'll hear from an ASU student who used his disability to help develop a program for helicopter pilots. That's at 5:30 and 10 on the next Arizona Horizon. That is it for now. I'm Ted Simons. Thank you so much for joining us. You have a great evening.
If you have comments about Arizona Horizon, please contact us at one of the addresses on your screen. Your comments may be used on a future edition of Arizona Horizon. Thank you. Arizona Horizon is made possible by contributions from the Friends of 8, members of your Arizona PBS station. Thank you.